So he says, Arab and Jewish violence is common in the Middle East. These violent acts are shameful and achieve nothing. The people in power know the lies in the world. Yeah, the people in power know the lies in the world history, and they should bring out the truth. Until the full truth is known, good people should do everything they can to stop violence and help to build a beautiful world.
Yeah, it's the ships, it's the water, it's the castle that's in the background.
Yep.
I'm giving you a geographical location of where Jerusalem was. Because he says, I think in this book that, and then Jerusalem in the Middle East, there is no rivers, a body of rivers that close to.
That's it.
I guess, what would it be, Temple Mount there or something?
Yep. But this is incredible. He's showing evidence, but the Jerusalem in the Middle East today only had around, do you know how many?
It was a small village, right? So it wasn't that much. That wasn't that many.
Yeah. But everyone knows that around the time of Jesus Christ, there was about 1 million, as you just said. But when you look at even in 1870, what is currently known as Jerusalem, do you know how many people there were?
Oh, I think it says here 14,000.
Yeah, 14,000 people, man. 14,000 people compared to 1 million. Yeah, and if you look at that photo, Jerusalem looks like as David says, a small, messy village, basically. You know, and we're taught that this was like the most important place in the world, at one point.
Not just the most important, but it supposedly Sulaiman Islam ruled the world from there.
Thank you. Right, exactly.
So how could you rule from there? And this has to be the main city. This main city has to have, top of the line everything, which is really hard to find there.
Right. Yep, exactly. So the Star of David and Seal of Solomon, as we're familiar, that's a hexagram, right? And what I did not know is that this was something that the Arabs and the Muslims carried themselves up until 1945. Did you know this?
No, I didn't know that. I know.
Yeah, that's very interesting, right? This Holy Roman Empire was the Ottoman Empire, which makes sense. The love story of Taj Mahal. The Quranic story of Sulaiman alayhi salam and Saba.
Yeah, and then they're gonna have Arabic on their swords. Like that's what David was saying to me. Like, imagine we're gonna go out and we're gonna fight Germans, right? We're gonna fight Hitler, and then we're gonna write Hitler's name on our chest. We're gonna get Hitler's tattoo on our chest. Like, that wouldn't make any sense. What I remember from David saying was Alpha, basically the L part, right, is representing Allah. So it's Allah, and I mean, it's the beginning and the end. It's the 1 and the 9.
Yep. The first number, the last number. Absolutely, it's a representation.
And then I saw somebody else's meme. They're saying that 1 plus 9 is 10, and then 1 plus 0 is 1. So it's always back to the 1, right? It's always back to Allah. So it's a representation of. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say it. Maybe it is a representation of Allah, but.
Well, the most interesting thing, but the most interesting thing is that the Alpha and the Omega, what is it? The photo above shows the Alpha and the Omega symbols. This is well known by the Germanic peoples. That this, actually writes in Arabic Allah. Yeah, that's the thing. Not just the 1 and the 9, but the actual writing of Alpha and Omega. When you place it together, when you place the Alpha above the Omega, it basically is writing what we see in Arabic as Allah.
Yeah, and if you think about it, the whole story of Isa alayhi salam, that happened. That it's more probable that it happened in Istanbul.
Yep.
And so if we're saying that, then what is Hagia Sophia? Was that the masjid that they were at?
The Holy Temple. Right?
Yeah, the Holy Temple. Yeah. It's a big change in perspective.
It is.
And to think, was that the headquarters of Sulaiman as-Salam? There's so much.
That's what it looks like. Because if you look at the water paths, you know, underneath, even if you look at the waterworks,
in all these star forts, they all had water at the bottom of it too.
Right.
So,
and there is that passage in the Quran as well where Sheba comes to Suleiman, and she steps into something which looks like clear water or something, but it's actually something crystal, something glass. So there is this description being given of something amazing, you know, of looking see-through, looking like, oh, she's stepping in water, but she's not. So I can't remember exactly what it is. But anyway, none of this can be pictured in what we see today as in Israel. Why would people be? Why would crusades take place 1,000 years after the crucifixion of Jesus, in revenge for Jesus? Yeah, this is a very big one. Yeah, this sounds ridiculous. Who would wake up 1,000 years later and start to get revenge on something? This doesn't make sense at all. Yeah,
that one was nobody really actually even. I mean, I've never heard of anyone saying anything besides David. And then once you hear it, like, why did they wait 1,000 years?
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. It is known that the names of many places in the Middle East were changed to match places in the Bible. This is what it is. It's all just a money-making scheme. Holy sites were newly invented in the Middle East in the 19th century for the purpose of making money. It was a scam. Not only Thomas Cook, but hundreds of other businessmen and politicians were involved. Many businessmen and politicians were involved. Many religious organizations took part in the business project. Everyone wanted to make money.
Donkey said to the tiger, "The grass is blue." The tiger replied, "No, the grass is green." The discussion heated up, and the two decided to went before the lion, the king of the jungle. The donkey began to shout, "Your Highness, is it true that the grass is blue?" The lion replied, "True, the grass is blue." The donkey continued, "The tiger disagrees with me and contradicts and annoys me. Please punish him." The king then declared, "The tiger will be punished with 5 years of silence." The donkey jumped cheerfully and went on his way. The tiger accepted his punishment, but before he asked the lion, "Your Majesty, why have you punished me? After all, the grass is green." The lion replied, "In fact, the grass is green." The tiger asked, "So why are you punishing me?" The lion replied, "That has nothing to do with the question of whether the grass is blue or green. The punishment is because it is not possible for a brave and intelligent creature like you to waste time arguing with a donkey, and on top of that come and bother me with that question. The worst waste of time is arguing with the fool and fanatic who does not care about truth or reality, but only the victory of his beliefs and illusions. There are people who, no matter how much evidence we present to them, are not in the capacity to understand, and others are blinded by ego, hatred, and resentment, and all they want is to be right even if they are not.
A lot of early mornings, but it's nothing compared to you right now, is it?
It's 4:30 a.m. right now, so
Yep.
I've been up since 2:30.
You got up exactly. Yeah, you got up ages ago. Yeah. First of all, I want to thank you for doing the interviews with David Ewing that you have done, because it's not easy to approach this topic, is it?
It's a new topic. So when it's a new topic, it's really hard to grasp quickly because you're kind of, everything's new, so you're gonna make mistakes. And speaking to David with the amount of knowledge he has, it's you're just holding on a roller coaster. So
Yep, absolutely. But I was just thinking earlier today, has it ever been any different, especially in the last few years? Anything that we've looked at, I don't know what your experience is like, but mine is always like, you look at something that is completely like changing your paradigm, and you're like, nah, that's ridiculous. absolutely that's nonsense. And then you I turn away from it, or I shut it, but then I come back. Maybe if I don't come back immediately, I come back later. I'm like, you know what, this actually makes sense, and I think this is the truth. And then the more you look at it, you're like, yeah, this is true. How can you refute this? You know, for me, my experience in the last few years has always been like that, and I think that's why there's the difference between those who are awake and those who just refuse to engage in any cognitive dissonance, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's those who are willing to think and those who are willing to follow. So those who follow can't think for themselves. They need someone to do the thinking for them. So when you force them to think, then there's the conflict, right?
That's the word. That is the key word, conflict. Okay, I'm glad we started off on this right note, because I'm actually thinking of titling this something along the lines of fake history creates conflict. Yeah. What do you think when I say that?
It does create conflict, but I guess what people won't understand, where is the conflict going to be? It's going to be within themselves. Because you have to really humble yourself to, first of all, listen to what this type of information is saying, and then to absorb it. You really have to kind of put away everything that you've learned and have a fresh perspective, or else all the excuses will come out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just be willing to come to these topics with what one of the brothers said in the comment section on one of the previous videos, with a naked mind, with no preconceived notions. And I think that's the only way that you can truly assess something, if it is without any biases. But so anyway, to get underway, inshallah. Okay, so we're going to go through my notes on looking at David's book. This is the second book that I've looked at now. I know that you've been through, I think, all of his books, actually. Am I right?
Almost all of them, yeah. I think there's a few that I wasn't able to get from him, but the ones that he did send me, I did read them all.
Right. Well, I went through his very first one, Ancient Greece, and which he says is not so ancient. And this latest one, Jerusalem, is in Europe. And I went through both of those thoroughly. So it's almost like as if I've been through, I think, his first book and his latest book. I think this latest book is probably the most important one. Simply because if you've seen his conversation with Raphael, I think the latest one was called True History Creates Peace. No, True History Brings Peace. That was the latest one that he did with Raphael on Act Like You Know. And I thought, this is the reason why we're doing this. This is the reason why I'm doing this. This is the reason why I'm looking at this. Because, how long are we just going to be fools to those in control, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So whilst I go through this, if you can maybe just let me know if I missed something on the chat. Okay. So actually, so if we go to, have you got the PDF in front of you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you go to page 63 to begin with, so the book is called Jerusalem is in Europe, and I think basically all of his books have got the label on top, Tartaria. So you could say that it's a series on Tartaria, right? Because it all stems from Professor Anatoly Fomenko's work on new timelines, or returning back to the real understanding, apparently, of the historical timelines, as opposed to fake historical timelines that we've been presented. And so if you go to page 63. This is the reason for me why I think this needs to be done, because I'm of Indian background, right? You're of Indian heritage, I think. Of course, yeah. And we're familiar with the terrible things that takes place between the Hindus, the Muslims. And what David points out in this book, which I will be going through slowly, but I just want to start off on the right foot, which is understanding why we're doing this, why he's written this book, why he's doing this, and why we're even discussing this today, is so then we can make at least some impact, you know, if any, on what is actually taking place today, and recognizing that we're all being manipulated by fake history ultimately. And that's what it is, that it's dividing people over lies. It's dividing people over lies. And yeah, it seems to be the case everywhere. So page 63 shows that in his book there. Hindu and Muslim and Christian violence is common in India. He says violence is nothing to be proud of. If we cannot find true history, the future of the world is in danger. Politicians and the people in power take advantage of the chaos. Good people get hurt. It is very important to find true history as soon as possible. That's the reason for doing this. And if you go further on to page 64 as well, yeah, so it's not just about the Hindus and the Muslims in India. So if you look at, yeah, so again, this is about Jerusalem, yeah, in Israel, or fake Jerusalem, and conflict with Palestine. So he says Arab and Jewish violence is common in the Middle East. These violent acts are shameful and achieve nothing. The people in power know the lies in the world. Yeah, the people in power know the lies in the world history, and they should bring out the truth. Until the full truth is known, good people should do everything they can to stop violence and help to build a beautiful world. Yeah, you don't really get this kind of feeling from David, do you, when he's speaking?
No,
Yeah.
no, definitely at all.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, what he's saying is that people are fighting over toilet sewage. Yeah, people are fighting over what they don't recognize to be. Yeah, basically they're being taught that this is a holy site, whereas David is proving that it's not. They're diverting us from the true holy sites. And it's all about politicians. It's all about businessmen. It's all about, yeah, money and power, which won't come as a surprise to any of us. But when we think with that, with everything that we're about to look at, maybe that will help us, yeah, just basically look through what the evidence that David is bringing. Okay, so Jerusalem is in Europe. This is the name of the book. Well, I would actually, now that I've read it, I would be more specific and say that Jerusalem is in Istanbul. Once you've looked at David's book, have you had a chance to look at it?
Yeah, I did this morning, and I did a few months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite. It changes your perspective completely, and it makes a lot of sense.
Right.
And so it makes you think, okay, now what is going on in Palestine? What are people fighting for? It's all being manipulated. It's very sad. It's people, you know, this has been going on for centuries. How many people have died? How many people have gone to war? And you know, people who are in the West, who Muslims, especially Muslims, who have this emotional connection to it. All of it is a lie. It's based on a lie.
That's keyword, emotional connection to lies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Key. Yep.
Exactly. And that's the key of all of this, right? Once they get the heart involved, the emotions involved, and that's it. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to see the truth once you get emotionally involved, right?
Yep. If just listening to Dr. Omar Zaid in conversation with Dr. Omar Ramahi, they pointed out that, you know, it's a real conditioning that's taking place, where concepts such as, you know, Ajr concepts, basically, you know, it's a real psychological attachment. Yeah, this emotional thing, where we just continuously feed it because we're kind of addicted to it as well, you know, if that makes sense. We're addicted to thinking in this way. We're addicted to feeling in this way. And it just happens every year, right? I think around Ramadan time, we get used to it. Now the memes are going to come out. Everyone's going to say free Palestine. Everyone's going to talk about the conflict taking place yet again. Yeah, am I right? It takes place pretty much every Ramadan, right?
Pretty much every Ramadan, yeah.
Yeah, and then you just see it on everyone's WhatsApp statuses, and yeah, no change. Anyway, yeah. So okay, so if we start off, so first of all, who are the three key figures that makes us believe that this is a holy place?
The three key figures?
As in, like, religious.
Well, I mean, are you talking about the general religion or just people?
Yeah, I mean, which are pretty common amongst the Abrahamic faiths. Why is it? Why is it that this place is apparently supposed to be holy, Jerusalem?
Well, because of Isa alayhi salam, or Jesus.
Yep.
And
Anyone else?
obviously Sulaiman alayhi salam, and then you have Yaqub alayhi salam. I mean, there's
yeah. So I think you've just said it. For me, the three key ones is Dawood alayhi salam, Sulaiman alayhi salam, and Isa alayhi salam. But yeah, I'm sure it's more. But that's what seems to be connecting, I think, all three Abrahamic faiths. Yeah, not all three actually, not regards to Isa. But yeah, so are you familiar with Jerusalem not being in the Quran?
Yes. It's not actually mentioned by name. I remember reading when I first got into this, I read Sheikh Imran Hussein's book about Jerusalem in the Quran. It's not actually mentioned by name. It's only mentioned by the word town. So it's very kind of general.
Vague.
It's not a specific place.
Yeah.
It's vague. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
meaning, it could be that this town, it's not really about a town. It's more of an idea of that this town is supposed to bring peace.
And yeah, so anything that anyone has spoken on is basically it seems to be based on interpretations and not something that is explicitly said in the Quran, right? And so therefore it should be even easier to kind of assess what David is bringing, because if it's something different to what we have been taught it is, but yet that what we previously understood is based on interpretations, then that should make it even easier to accept the evidences that are being brought forth, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So David's work is based on Professor Anatoly Fomenko from the Moscow State University, and he is the one who actually provides evidence to begin with. I think it might even be 20 years back or so, but he's the one that provides evidence that Jerusalem is in Istanbul. So with David coming forward and saying this, if they do want to challenge David or mock David, it's not David that's actually bringing this. It's a professor of the Moscow State University who's done extensive research, and he's the one that's saying that Jerusalem is in Istanbul. Are you familiar with that, or did you think it was David?
No. Well, I mean, he makes it quite clear in his talks and in his books that
he's highlighting it, he's bringing it, he's making it clear. But yeah, I think people might miss the fact that this is actually coming from a real professor's extensive work.
And as you said, 20 years ago. So this isn't something relatively new. It's quite old.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, first of all, I think what David brings. So if we go to, so immediately within the first few pages of his book. So if you go to page 5, can you see? Or is it page 6? Yeah. Can you go to page 6?
Yeah. Look at the ships.
Yeah. So I thought that when I listened to one of his podcasts, I thought he was only showing evidence of like 3 different artists' paintings. But now that I've been through his book, I realized that it's actually a good 9 different artists, all around the 15th, 16th century. These are Renaissance artists, and he's got at least 9 different artists. And I just think it's amazing that when you've got that much, and people could say, oh, that's just one person's drawing, or that's just another person's drawing. But when you got 9 different artists,
crucifixion paintings. Yeah, there's paintings inside churches, on their walls, and things like that throughout Europe. Yes? Yeah. So now the thing is, you'll find hundreds of paintings throughout Europe. Yes, of the crucifixion. As you can see, we've got a serious problem. Yes, we've got a serious problem.
This is Jesus Christ in Turkey 1,000 years ago, not 2,000.
Yes, and now the thing is, in Istanbul, Yes, all we can find in, I can send you hundreds of paintings. Let me just send you many so that you can upload them on the video.
This is a lot. This is a lot to digest.
But now we've got a problem. Yes, we found that the language and the coins and things like that are Arabic.
You just sent me like 100 pictures of the Turkey with Christ in front of it. This is crazy. This is amazing.
Yeah, and you can just see the Bosphorous. It's totally insane.
What is happening?
Yes, I really don't know what to say.
You can say it. Jesus is from Turkey. Jesus is from Istanbul. That's pretty clear. That's what we're looking at. Or at least they crucified him. They crucified him there. It looks like. It looks like he's crucified there.
Now the thing is, he went there. It's yes, it means city of peace. So Islam means the religion of peace. Us-Salam, Islam. So now we've got these problems, and we've got these problems. Jesus Christ. What language did he speak? All the Jewish people have been speaking Arabic for centuries. We can't even find a Hebrew language. Nobody even spoke it. Then they burnt all the Jewish people's Arabic books that Jesus Christ left behind. And then, hey, people are going on crusades. They're burning all these Gospels in Istanbul or in Constantinople. They're burning all these books over there. And Jesus Christ was crucified there. Or if Jesus Christ was crucified in Constantinople, it means the priests who killed him, because the history says that the people who were the priests, okay, they call them Pharisees, Sadducees, blah, blah, blah. They turn around and say that the priests, yes, killed Jesus Christ. Yes, they sentenced him to death.
All showing. So I don't know if you've had a chance to have a look at these paintings. Do you know what is the reason why David is showing these paintings?
Because of the background of the paintings.
Yeah. And what is it that is significant that makes you change your understanding of where Jerusalem is?
Yeah, it's the ships, it's the water, it's the castle that's in the background.
Yep.
I'm giving you a geographical location of where Jerusalem was, because he says, I think in this book that, and then Jerusalem in the Middle East, there is no rivers, a body of rivers that close to,
that's it.
I guess what would it be, Temple Mount there or something?
Yep.
So why are they drawing in almost every picture? Why are they drawing river bodies of water with ships on them? That wouldn't make any sense. I mean, that's the pattern that he's seeing.
Yeah. Sorry, I might have forgotten to mention that these paintings are drawings of the apparent crucifixion that took place of Jesus Christ. So yeah, what is in the background there? Yeah, sorry, carry on. Yeah.
No, yeah, and I finished. So I mean, why would all of these paintings? I mean, why would all these artists paint these paintings with the same things in them, in the background, especially, right?
Yeah.
So they're trying to give you an indication of where the location was actually.
Yeah, all of them slightly vary because they're different artists, different times. But yeah, what we find in common is that there is an apparent crucifixion taking place, and in the background there is ships, there is sea, there is waterways, as you mentioned. There's rivers, there's a bridge, there's a castle, there's a waterway, and as you go through David's book, as you're looking at all of these examples, once you get to, I think around a few pages down, then it gets even more specific. So forget the fact that it's got all of these waterways which cannot be found in modern day Israel, Jerusalem. They cannot be found anywhere near, as you mentioned. But as you get further down these pictures, you start to see more specific, such as the Golden Horn and what looks like to be the Bosphorous, and even more specific when you see two temples which look like Hagia Sophia and Sultan Ahmed. Yeah. So if you go to page 10, can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got what is clearly looking to, the Galata Tower, Hagia Sophia, and Sultan Ahmed.
And I think Ishan is messaging in classic history of In classic history, the end of the Dark Ages is in 1453 when Constantinople was taken. That was a city worth to fight for.
Yep. So there is something extremely significant even in the history that we understand today of this area, Istanbul, which was known as Constantinople. But me, myself, I find it difficult to call it Constantinople because I'm not sure about the history of Constantine, the emperor. So that's where the name Constantinople comes from. So yeah, I prefer the...
Yeah, because it's all a con, right? It's all a con.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, but at the end of the day, I see what Dave is doing. It's like you have to say Jesus Christ, even though you know that's not his name. It's what's widely understood as his name. Same thing with Constantinople, I guess. It's been invented, I believe, along with even with the Hadith. I question the Hadith that mentions Constantinia, or I'm not sure exactly how they refer to it. But yeah, I prefer the Istanbul. I mean, even when I was just there recently, they themselves, I did not know this until I received a message from one of them saying, welcome to Istanbul. No, sorry, Istanbul. So they said Istanbul with an M. So the only letter that's missing is the La, you know, which makes it Istanbul. So we say Istanbul with an N. They say Istanbul with an M. So it's only missing one letter. Okay, so those are the paintings. Then if you go to, so then he mentions about the history in Jerusalem during Jesus Christ's time. And so apparently, do you know how many people there was supposed to have been around the time of Jesus Christ?
Yeah, it's more than 1 million, right?
More than 1 million, exactly, yeah. So I'm trying to find where that is. Yeah, there it is on page 15. According to historians, Jerusalem had around 1 million people at the time of Jesus Christ. But this is incredible. He's showing evidence, but the Jerusalem in the Middle East today only had around, do you know how many?
It was a small village, right? So it wasn't that much. That wasn't that many.
Yeah. But everyone knows that around the time of Jesus Christ, there was about 1 million, as you just said. But when you look at even in 1870, what is currently known as Jerusalem, do you know how many people there were?
Oh, I think it says here 14,000.
Yeah, 14,000 people, man. 14,000 people compared to 1 million. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's one of the small football stadiums that I've got here, and I mean small. I think I don't know what you've got over there, but Wembley over here, I think, hosts about 75,000 people. Yeah. And these small clubs, small football clubs, you'd expect around 14,000 people. That's nothing. That's nothing. You know, when you make that comparison.
So I mean, So when you compare 14,000 to 1 million, like everything changes from the footpaths of the city to the roads, the farmland. Like everything has to be at a level where it could uphold 1 million people. So if that doesn't fit, then how did these people live there? How do they get there? What did they do?
Right, exactly. We'll come to that. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, because obviously you've read it, so this is all the most important. Forget the contradictory information on the population size, but yeah, how did those people, as you said, sleep? How did they live? How did they drink? How did they make their pilgrimage? Apparently, all of these things come into question. Yeah. So what else does he have? Yeah, and then if you go further on to page 16, that's a picture. That's a picture of Jerusalem, and
around 1900 years ago. I mean, in the year 1900.
Yeah, around 1900. And sorry, if you were going to say something, yeah.
Yeah, and it just says here that the golden dome wasn't gold back then. It was just
exactly. Do people know these things? That golden dome was not gold. And if you look at that photo, Jerusalem looks like as David says, a small, messy village, basically. You know, and we're taught that this was like the most important place in the world, at one point.
Not just the most important, but it supposedly Sulaiman Islam ruled the world from there.
Thank you, thank you. Right, exactly.
So how could you rule from there? And this has to be the main city. This main city has to have, you know, top of the line everything, which is really hard to find there.
Right. Yep, exactly. And yeah, so what you do have, these old photos of Jerusalem, or what we understand as Jerusalem today, is just basically showing mining, farming, but no evidence that any kind of pilgrimage was taking place there. Not to mention the fact that they call it Al-Quds, yeah? The people themselves, the locals themselves, they don't call it Jerusalem, they call it Al-Quds, yeah? Yeah, so the Christians, and this is the difficult bit to say. So yeah, anyone listening, no offense, yeah, we love our Christian and Jewish brothers and sisters. But what David is showing, yeah, do you want to say it for me or shall I say it? Yeah.
You go ahead.
I'll say it. Yeah, it's not nice, but basically, and this is why it's important, so then people can stop being fools. That yeah, they're being fooled into drinking and bathing in holy shit, basically. You know, not beating around the bush is funny, but it's funny and sad. So yeah, what David shows, and again, no offense to even those who are from there. I mean, I'm from a village originally that you could even argue is similar like this. You know, that is a middle of nowhere, that doesn't have any significance. So yeah, it's not about trying to offend anyone who comes from there or what they're doing, but basically facts are facts, you know. As David said, facts don't care about feelings, and they do need to be mentioned. And so Christians and Jews, he's basically showing that, yeah, they're drinking and bathing in holy crap today. And even the Arab Muslim residents of Silwan, yeah, so that's the name of the area, Silwan. And over there you have this pool of Silwan, which they make it out to be holy. So yeah, anyway, I'm not going to focus on that. But anyway, it's not the first time. Going back to India, you know what people do in India, right? You've seen the dirty things that people do in the name of religion.
What is it called? The what's that river where they?
That's it, Ganges.
Yeah, that was the river. Yeah. So it's like a similar pattern, and then as you go on into this book, you'll see the similar patterns, like as you started with the Hindus against the Muslims.
Yeah,
it's the same type of a thing where it's this uncleansed water is being bathed in.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So moving on, the Golden Gate built by Solomon the Great to prevent the Antichrist coming through. Okay, so I've got this on my notes. This is interesting. So the Golden Gate that was built by Solomon the Great to prevent the Antichrist coming through. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't heard of that.
Right. Okay. So these are the things that make Jerusalem even more holy and even more for the masses to be connected to the end times, especially when you mention the Antichrist. So yeah, apparently this Golden Gate was built by Suleiman. The bit I do want to focus on is this differences, yeah, between the Golden Gate in Istanbul and the Golden Gate that is found in Quds. Are you familiar with this? That there are Golden Gates in both places, yeah? Yeah. So Golden Gate in Quds, yeah, as we've already kind of been speaking on, you know, that this is all fake. It's fake Jerusalem established by the European colonialist powers, you know, all for money, power. It's all business politics. But if this Golden Gate is believed to be true, that was built by Solomon the Great, if you look in Istanbul, yeah, David is showing evidence that, yeah, okay, so page 41. Yeah, there we go, 41. Can you go to 41? Yeah, I didn't write all the page numbers when I was beginning my notes because I didn't have this planned. Yeah, so page 41. If you look at the Golden Gate in Istanbul, yeah, what he's saying is the walls are greater, yeah, they've got greater layers of defense. The infrastructure for a larger number of pilgrims is there. And yeah, so basically there is Golden Gate found in both places. So I don't know about you, if it was me and I wanted to bring people to this fake place, I would have to try to replicate as many significant features as possible, right?
Exactly, yeah. To confuse people.
Yeah, but just because there's a Golden Gate there, it doesn't mean that is the Golden Gate. So yeah, it makes sense what David is saying. If you look at the Golden Gate in Istanbul, you know, and we know that this place, Jerusalem, hosted huge numbers of pilgrims. Yeah, it serviced them, and yeah. So if you just look at the one in Istanbul, it makes sense. That is the one. And then there's the comparison between. Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting, and this is where my notes will get better as well, hopefully. Okay, so Ottoman Emperor Sultan versus King Solomon. What do you think of this? When you hear about the Ottoman Emperor Sultan, and you hear of Suleiman the Magnificent, and then you hear of King Solomon, what do you think? Maybe you've already understood because you've read it.
Yeah, they're all trying. It's the same person, but they're just kind of trying to make it like seem like it's different people.
Yeah.
To break the history down.
Yeah, to break the history, to break people, to divide the people as well. So one section of people will believe in this history or this person as Suleiman the Great. You know, one for the Turks, basically. You know, I think Suleiman the Magnificent, or is it the Ottoman Emperor? Then you've got King Solomon. One for the Christians. There's so many as we're going to look through this. But yeah, if you go to page 47. Page 47. Yeah. The key part is when you look at all of these Suleimans or Solomons, what David is showing is that they were all great builders. Yeah. All of these were known to be great builders. As you said, you know, they ruled. So if they ruled the world, they had a dominion like no other. They had a kingdom like no other. So therefore, yeah, even though they had a great headquarters, they would be known for building. Yeah. Not just there, but all around. Yeah. All around everywhere. So this is what David is showing, that a lot of these are, yeah, basically all of these different Suleimans or Solomons that we are familiar with, they're all known to be great builders. That can't be a coincidence, right?
Cannot, nope.
Yeah. And also the Siege of Vienna. Are you familiar with the Siege of Vienna in 1529?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, Siege of Vienna, and then the Siege of Constantinople in 717 AD. So this was seen to be one of the biggest attacks in history, and yeah, so this is what points to. This is what brings people questioning. Okay, who is this Solomon that seems to be mentioned everywhere? But basically, what David is showing is that the Chinese and Arab history was invented by the 17th and 18th century Jesuits and their allies. And so actually this is what Fomenko says. Yeah, so this is what Professor Anatoly Fomenko says on page 48. Yeah, that this was invented by the Jesuits and their allies. So this is where it gets very interesting. Can you see that on page 48? Solomon the Magnificent was created for the Turks, whereas King Solomon was for Jews and Christians, and the Caliph Umayyad Solomon was for the Arabs. Yeah. This is one of the key features of Professor Anatoly Fomenko's works. It's these timelines that he finds and these stories that seem to match one another, that have very similar time periods of what took place. And yeah, so this is what he's showing, that Solomon the Magnificent was for the Turks, King Solomon was for the Jews and the Christians, and the Caliph Umayyad Solomon was for the Arabs. And all three men ruled Jerusalem and built things. Yeah, this is the key thing. This is probably one of the most important things about this very similar description of Solomon, who ruled Jerusalem and built things. Is it a coincidence, or is it fake history invented to divide people, divide and conquer?
I think it speaks for itself.
Yep,
this point.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, and then he goes into the worldwide Arabic coins, and then yeah, obviously that's something we're familiar with by now, and the Turkish sultanates. Okay, so this is an interesting bit as well. The Star of David. I did not know this when I read this. So if you go to page 50 on the Star of David. Okay, did you come across that?
Yeah.
About the Star of David, yeah. So the Star of David and Seal of Solomon, as we're familiar, that's a hexagram, right? And what I did not know is that this was something that the Arabs and the Muslims carried themselves up until 1945. Did you know this?
No, I didn't know that. I know.
Yeah, that's very interesting, right? This thing that we've learned as being something Zionist and political,
Yeah.
actually, this was carried by the Arabs and the Muslims, and more significantly, the Moroccans. I think it was even on their flag until 1945. I'm just reading from my notes, but I know David's got it here in his book. Yeah, so that's very interesting that this, once again, we know that they hijack things, right? We're taught that some things are bad, but actually when we look deeply enough, we find that they are actually Islamic. And so therefore, they've taught people to demonize something that is very Islamic or pure to begin with.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the first questions that came to my mind was like, why? Like, what is so great about this little symbol? And I honestly, the only thing I could reasonably think of is that these symbols are found in nature, right? And so when you find them in nature, that these are the actual sunnahs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like He puts these designs in nature for us to make that connection. And so they must have made that connection, and so they use it.
Okay, I
make
get it.
things
Yeah,
so that
I get it.
So it's like a
very,
representation.
very divine signature, basically. The pattern
Yeah,
is a
exactly.
very divine signature. Yeah, not a satanic thing that they make us believe it to be.
And this is why, like, you know, mainstream Islam, where you can't, pictures are haram, and you can't draw, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. And I wonder why, because you're gonna connect something that you're not supposed to connect with, or
absolutely
they just
the amount
think
of
of everything.
Muslims that I know that kind of discreetly, at the very least, you know, say that they all listen to music. You know, it's time enough. Basically, the people accept that. Yeah, this doesn't make sense. That music is haram. Yeah, of course, there's bad forms of everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just like with these patterns, like
Yeah.
if music was haram, why do birds sing like that? Why do birds sing like it sounds like they're singing?
The tunes, everything. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so if we're not supposed to draw these patterns, then why did Allah make these patterns? So it doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what the other thing that I found interesting was him mentioning that these prophets, you know, they came to also teach, as you mentioned earlier, law and science. You know, so it just got me wondering as well about the concept of Nabi, because I completely understand Rasul, is a messenger. You know, comes with a risala, but I haven't looked deeply into Nabi. And it did make me question, is Nabi what we've been taught? That Nabi is prophets who prophesy, you know, because what is prophecy? It's something about what's going to happen in the future, right? So, it just got me wondering, is that what Nabi is? That, you know, they prophesy the future? Or is Nabi someone who is gifted something, you know, for those people by Allah, something, you know, maybe they were all given something different, but that's what makes them prophets, you know, or Nabis, that they came with some great news. Be it some kind of science, be it some kind of law, be it some kind of news, whatever it is, you know. But just this whole idea that Nabi is a prophet and therefore a prophet prophesies, I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, right now everything's up in the air. So
we'll leave it there then before we speculate any further.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, so the start of Muslims, and this is another thing that I like about David's book. He's pointing out that the start of Muslims were way before Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, followers of Musa alayhi salam. And we understand this, right? We've seen this when we look in the Quran. It's talking about Ibrahim alayhi salam as being a Muslim, So therefore, you know, it does confirm that what we've been taught. What is a Muslim and what Allah describes in the Quran as Muslims, and Muslims being something before Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, that makes sense. What he's saying, it confirms. So he says the followers. So he says the followers of Musa alayhi salam, you know, they were raped, murdered by the Vatican Inquisition. And yeah, this makes sense to me because I don't know if you're familiar with, I think the most recent signature of Arabic is found in Spain. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
Right. Okay. So in Spain, a lot of people go on their trips to check out a lot of the Muslim or Islamic Arabic heritage that is still found in Spain. And what David says is that that was the last one that they could not erase. They've erased pretty much everywhere very well, but in Spain they could not erase it as well. So what people don't quite understand is that a lot of these Jews that were there, Arabic was their language, not Hebrew. And
or Aramaic.
Yeah, not even Aramaic. And now I realize what Aramaic is. It's just a slightly altered form of Arabic. Just look at the word, Aramaic and Arabic. Yeah.
And you can't find anyone that speaks it. But somehow that's it would make more sense that Arabic is the language, because if you're gonna derive all the root words from Arabic and you're not gonna derive any root words from Aramaic, I mean, it's quite simple. That's fraudulent.
Well, we'll get to that, but the person who apparently I can't remember his name, Ben Yehuda. So he actually says that they found. We'll get to that, but how they try to explain away the connections to the Arabic language. It's funny. You can just see the holes in the story immediately. But anyway, so what David is saying is that Arabic was the Jews' language and not Hebrew. And you can see that on page 52. Yep, there we go. Eliezer ben Yehuda. Yeah, so this guy, Eliezer ben Yehuda, he's David references him quite a bit. Yeah, so that's the question. So if Arabic was their language and not Hebrew, this is the more important question. But what did Jesus Christ speak? If these people spoke Arabic, and not Hebrew, then what did Jesus Christ speak? What did David speak? Suleiman speak, alayhi salam. What did Musa alayhi salam speak? What did they all speak? If this is the case. So moving on to page 57. Okay, go to page 57. This is where it gets even more crazy, if you like. You're familiar, again, going back to India, the story of Taj Mahal, Shah Jahan.
Even his if you research the history of him, you can definitely see, I mean, after reading David's books, you can definitely see that they've used the number 19 all over the Taj Mahal and Shah Jahan's history. Right. So that part gives you an indication that it's been messed around with. Exactly. And so I think he says in here that Shah Jahan means king of the world. His name is Khurram, and he was said to be the same person as King Solomon. So, I mean, it just goes on forever, but you can clearly see that they're hiding Suleiman alayhi salam's lineage here, what he's built and the stories behind him.
Yep, absolutely. Yes, as you said, his name was Shah Jahan, which is king of the world. His name was Khurram. But as we understand, who was given the biggest kingdom? It's mentioned again. It's at least I don't know, at least a few times in the Quran, right? Or at least we know as Muslims who had the greatest kingdom, and it was Suleiman. So you can see the similarities immediately. King of the world. And not to mention, if you go to page 61, did you know that the historians did not even mention Taj Mahal when they spoke about this apparent Shah Jahan? So historians never even mentioned Taj Mahal. He's showing evidence. This is funny. This is very crazy. This is crazy. Who would do that? He says it's like talking about World War II minus Hitler. Brilliant comparison. So that already tells you how much has been invented, how much has been doctored, Yeah, how many stories have they given us to believe that are fake? You know.
And it also talks about the architect of Taj Mahal is very similar to the Dome of Rock.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's the same author.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then there's that bit that I mentioned about page 63. So fake history, and I do really do look at that word history more and more now as being his story. It's I can't look at that word anymore now without looking at his story. It basically is someone's story. This fake history, so fake history he's showing it creates conflict, and true history creates peace. And it just makes me think about when Allah speaks about the best hadith, being the Quran, where Allah speaks about stories. So now you think about it, that this is, when you think about the Quran, that is his story, meaning is Allah's story. So that is the real story that's being told, as opposed to these fake histories. And then page 64. At this point, by this point, when I got to page 64, I thought, okay, that's it. Now I've seen it all. Here's another example. Have you seen that one on page 63?
The one in Cambodia? Or
that one. So if you just replace the R with an L, because he actually says that Suryavarman has often been written as Suryavarman. You just look at this and I think, who are you kidding? You're not talking about anyone except Suleiman.
And then again, this person was famous for building.
Thank you. Exactly. How many of these similar sounding Suleimans are you going to hear of that were great builders? Exactly. That ruled, that did great things, that had great power. Okay, and then skip forward to page 72. Here's another one. Probably the most important one, I think.
Sorry, which page?
72. Charlemagne, or how do you say it? Charlemagne. I think it's Charlemagne.
Charlemagne.
Like champagne. Charlemagne. So again, obviously that's Suleiman. Because according to historians, Aachen Cathedral was built by Charlemagne during the Middle Ages. Charlemagne was a famous builder, and he caused the construction of many churches and buildings in Europe. Charlemagne is often called the father of Europe. And as we've already looked at David's work, Europe is basically it was written which looks like Arab. Europe was like Arab. How did they say it? Europa, Aroba. That's it, Aroba. The connections to Arab looks like, we'll get into this, but I'm starting to see now this whole German and Turkish connection. Are you familiar with this German-Turkish connection that we've been taught from modern history? There is a connection, but now this connection makes even more sense when you look at it. What David is showing, that basically this Holy Roman Empire was the Ottoman Empire. Have you grasped that? Went through his work. So this Holy Roman Empire was the Ottoman Empire, which makes sense. That it was including Germany, Turkey, and everything surrounding that, right?
Geographic. I guess you could connect what was it, the coronation clothing of the Holy Roman had Arabic writing on it. The design on their robes was the same design in the Dome of the Rock. So it's clearly it was Islam.
Absolutely. We're going to come to that later. The swords, the stockings, everything. And then going on to page 75. Great Islamic Arabic global empire. This is what he's basically showing. The great. Okay, so this is what Flamenco said. Not even what David is saying. So the great Islamic Arabic global empire equals the kingdom of Israel. So that's what he's saying. That this kingdom of Israel, and it really made me start to think, because I've looked at Bani Israel in the Quran, by the way. Not in detail, but when I was looking at who Allah favored, you know, when I was doing the study of Surah Fatiha, because obviously we're familiar with that bit where we say, was it Surat al-Mustaqim, Surat al-Ladhina, and Amta alayhim? Yeah, you're familiar with that bit, yeah? On those whom you favored, yeah? The path on of those whom you favored. So in looking at that, I found that amazingly, Allah speaks of Bani Israel in such a high, you know, praising manner that they were the favored ones. Yeah, they were the favorite of the entire over the entire world, and not just once. You know, it was at least a number of times, and it got me thinking. You know, because we've been taught. I don't know. It's this whole divide and conquer. We've been separated. Like, oh, these are the enemies. When you think about it, we're all kind of actually the same. You know, they're not the enemies. They were Muslims in a sense. So it makes sense that the great Islamic Arabic global empire does equal the Kingdom of Israel, as Professor Anatoly Fomenko said, which is Bani Israel in the Quran. So something to think about. Yeah, but anyway, the point is that King Solomon is global, yeah, but the identity has been changed. Fake history to hide the truth, just like fake cosmology to hide the truth. Yeah, fake history to hide the truth that King Solomon was global, but this identity was changed and split amongst different factions and given different altered stories. What basically David is saying is that Tartaria equals Israel, which equals Islam. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because
it gives an insight of all the star forts around the world.
Yeah.
Who could it be?
Yeah.
I mean, from reading the Quran and looking at history, unadulterated history of finding out what coins were they using, what kind of clothes were they using. It seems like most of it, if not all of it, was Islam.
Right. Yep. It was all Islam, exactly. So all of that around the world, these star forts, if it's the same signature and there's a powerful signature that seemed to be a great civilization that knew how to build something great, far superior than anything we can even do a fraction of today. And we understand that this global civilization, we know it to be Tartaria. People call it Tartaria. David is showing that these Arabic coins are found all over the world, in large numbers that they shouldn't be found in, for example, Northern Europe. So
millions,
it all starts to connect.
It's not thousands, millions.
Yeah, millions, exactly. It just starts to connect. That we're talking about the same powerful, holy civilization, holy, the ones that were basically following the way of God, the way of Allah. Moving on to page 76, 77. Okay.
So he's saying that Jew actually means priest. And then I guess Anatoly Fomenko pointed out that in Europe that the Russians and Slavs gave religious priests the title Jew during the Middle Ages. So in simple terms, people such as the Vatican and the Jesuits are Judah. Judah was originally a group of people that had disagreements in Israel, but then it was taken over by people who wanted power. It is known that it was a group of priests and their powerful allies that wanted Jesus Christ dead.
Right. Yep. It's always been the Vaticans and the Jesuits who have been against, it seems, that we're familiar with. They've always been against, who we understand as Jesus Christ. They've always been against Isa ibn Maryam, right? They wanted power. They wanted the power. These priests, as you just mentioned.
Well, I think why did they want power? So I think what happened. This is just using basic logic and reason that when they made the masjid, when they made the church, people gave donations to the church, and once the donations came in, well, then there's the power, because the money is the power, right?
Interest.
And so once they have the money power, then they can be like, hey, we don't want to let go of this power.
Sounds
and then
like
now that
sounds like the local masjids today.
exactly. I mean, it's natural, right? People see power. They don't. Who wants to let go of power?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And so they didn't want to let go of it. But Allah has His own. He has His own plan. And when Isa alayhi salam came, He completely destroyed that. He was trying to destroy that power, I think.
Yeah.
But,
I think so. Yeah. But I just found it interesting that the Jews are actually known as the priests. Yeah. The Yahud is actually the definition of the priests, not necessarily the followers of Musa alayhi salam, as far as I've understood it. Which would make sense as well. Yeah, following the priests in what they're telling you that you should be doing and you should be believing, and how you should be acting, and who you should be dedicated to, etc., etc., as opposed to the law of God. Then we've got so the Taj Mahal. Oh, the love story. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting. So the love story, the Taj Mahal love story. Going back to the Taj Mahal. If you go to page 77, I think. Yeah, page 77. So the Taj Mahal love story. So we know that there is this Quranic love story, right? Are you familiar with it?
Sheba.
Suleiman, and Suleiman, Saba, Surah Saba, Saba and Suleiman alayhi salam. And are you familiar with there being a book called the Songs of Solomon in the Bible? Yeah, Songs of Solomon. So it all starts to connect. The Songs of Solomon, poetry. Poetry are basically songs. The love story of Taj Mahal. The Quranic story of Suleiman alayhi salam and Saba. Basically he's connecting them. And then page 78, you've got
So David he's saying in the Bible in chapter 5 verse 16, it says his mouth is most sweet. Yes, he is altogether lovely. This is my beloved, my friend, O daughters of Jerusalem. Who is this? And so David is asking, who is this beloved? So the original Hebrew word in this verse actually says the word Muhammad. The verse, if you read the verse in its proper context, it says that this verse says, his mouth is most sweet. Yes, he is
That's
Muhammad.
The translation, Instead of saying Muhammad, they said, most sweet,
This is my beloved, my friend, O daughters of Jerusalem. The word Muhammad is usually translated to say altogether lovely is Muhammad in the Bible. And I like how it says, in the beginning, it says, his mouth is most sweet, like mita. Remember he was saying mita?
Mita, absolutely,
so
I'm trying to find the bit where he's actually put what they say to be is not Muhammad and what they say to be is Muhammad. And when you look at the Hebrew of both of them, it says the same thing. I'm trying to find that. Maybe I found it later. Anyway, so that's about Muhammad. Page 88. So you got to page 88.
I think you're on. I think you're talking about 81. The photo shows Muhammad in simple Hebrew.
Yeah, but I'm trying to find the one where he's made the comparison of what they say is not Muhammad and the one that they say, basically is Muhammad. And if you look at the Hebrew, it's the same. This is the same problem I have with the Quran. When people say that the same Arabic writing means two different things. This is nonsense. If one thing is written in one way, it can't mean two different things in two different places. You can say that this same word means this in this greater context. That's why it's used, but you can't say it's a different word. Okay. All right, moving on to page 88. So if you move on to page 88, okay. So this is that Eliezer ben Yehuda, who he refers to, who is the one I think who created the Hebrew language. So where is it? Page 88. Right. Yep. Arabic roots. Okay. So yeah, check his excuse. If you look at that, the Jews spoke Arabic for centuries. So where did the Hebrew Bible come from? Yeah, Eliezer ben Yehuda said that the roots of the Arabic language were originally part of the Hebrew language. These Arabic roots were mysteriously lost for 2,000 years. And then they were mysteriously found in the Arabic language when the modern Hebrew language was invented. But the meanings were mysteriously changed. What a load of cock and bull, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They must have drank too much. They must have drank too much of the holy water.
Yeah. Oh, which one? The crap? Yeah, the holy crap. Yeah. Okay, and why is Muhammad used different before and after? And then on page 92, yep. So you've got Bible-related business, tourism. Yeah, basically what David is showing is that this is $1 trillion business. Yeah. So all of this, what they do, creating this Bible, creating these, these sites that apparently match doctored passages of, Bible. It's all connected to $1 trillion business. So as soon as you connect it to $1 trillion business, who can you trust? That's going to really tell you the truth. Because as he says in page 95, once they get found out, it's game over. Their bank accounts close. Yeah. And so that's the last thing that a politician wants, right? Politicians in it mostly, in most cases, due to financial reasons. So whatever it takes to keep their bank accounts, full. And so, there it is. I found it now. What I was looking for, page 95. So if you look at that, what they say is Meshulam in Hebrew, and what they say is Muslim in Hebrew. It's got the same Hebrew writing. Yeah. Okay. Page 98. Holy Roman Empire equals Arabic. Yep. So then he goes through showing the Holy Roman Empire having Arabic in their coronation mantle, in gold as well. Yeah, in gold. So it's in gold in their coronation mantle. Yeah. But the point is that this is in Arabic, not German, not Latin. Yeah. This is one of the big ones actually. So why is it in Arabic and not in German or Latin? Why is the coronation mantle of the Holy Roman Empire in golden Arabic and not in German or Latin?
Even the word Holy Roman. Yep. I mean, what does Roman actually sound to me? And knowing that they had Arabic writing, to me it sounds Holy Rahman. That's what it sounds like to me. I mean,
well, I think of Rum though. What Allah mentions in the Quran is Rum. That Rum will be victorious again. When you think about that, then it makes sense. Because before now, until we looked at David's work, it never made sense to me when listening to Sheikh Imran Hussein talking about Russia, for example. Saying that that's Rome. The Rome will be victorious again, and the previous Rome was Allah referring to somewhere else. But now, when you look at what David's saying, it makes sense. That this Holy Roman Empire is the Rome that Allah spoke highly of, that they will be victorious again, right? Something like this anyway. But the point is that the Quran speaks highly of Rome. Now, when you understand this, that Rome was Muslim, Roman Empire was Arabic. How do we explain that? More than 100?
100 million coin. That's a lot. Like there's like only somebody who is a ruling class would be able to make 100 million coins. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like no slave is gonna make 100 million coins. No, just some random people making 100 million coins. And this has to be somebody with great power to make 100 million coins, and then to put into it, and then to ascribe Arabic on top of it, to engrave it.
Yep.
So, I mean that one's a hard one to not understand.
To find them in Northern Europe. This is the point. To find more than 100 million Arabic coins in North Europe. How is that possible? And then you've got Aachen Cathedral, and the Dome of Rock similarities to Aachen Cathedral. Germany's significance, which we understand as, I already knew. As soon as he said Germany, he had me, because I remember studying Arabic, and I remember being taught in class that the Arabic word for Germans was Aleman, Alemania, the person of Germany, Alemania, and a German was Aleman. So as soon as he said that, I thought, okay, you've got me here. It makes sense. So Aachen Cathedral and Dome of Rock similarities. Germany's significance, Aleman, the Hellas Roman Empire. But anyway, he's gone through this in previous books and previous conversations. Just trying to stick to Jerusalem being in Europe. Then you've got on page 101, you've got the stockings of Roman Emperor with Arabic, as we're already familiar with. And then you've got on page 102, you've got the Italian and German swords with Arabic, This is a big one, The Italian and German swords, Italian and German swords with Arabic on them, when they're supposed to be enemies.
They're supposed to be enemies, and then they're gonna have Arabic on their swords. Like you're gonna that's what David was saying to me. Like, imagine we're gonna go out and we're gonna fight Germans, right? We're gonna fight Hitler, and then we're gonna write Hitler's name on our chest. We're gonna get Hitler's tattoo on our chest. Like, that wouldn't make any sense. Why would you put the enemy's writing language on your weapon or on your armory?
Right. Absolutely. Right. Why would you do that? It doesn't make sense. The brothers are talking about Rome being victorious again. I'm not sure, brothers. A lot of this, not an expert on, and need your help on this to look at different parts of the Quran. But you've mentioned, Brother Shah, can you explain how Rome will be victorious again? Who knows? Maybe that's already happened. So when you talk about, if Allah mentions the Rome being victorious again, what we've been taught from Sheikh Imran Hussein is interpretation of what is still yet to come, right? We don't know. So maybe that second victory has already occurred. Are you with me, Brother Imran?
I mean, I'm just trying to think, like, maybe because David did say that, but Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam, he was victorious over, I guess, like the Roman Empire. Like the evil side of it, not the good side of it. And then this room that was actually
the Vatican,
good.
Basically. Vatican. The Vatican.
Basically.
Right. So we don't know. There is a lot of unclear stuff in the Quran, absolutely. But for me, it would make sense. Anyone trying to say that Rome will be victorious again is something yet to happen, and it's Russia. That's kind of hoping that it fits your narrative, basically, that you believe to be true. So Christian kings. So anyway, so if you got Italian and German swords with Arabic, where is the sign for Christian kings? We've already mentioned that. Hold on, Islam and Arabia is supposed to be the enemy. So what about the Christian kings? Or basically the point is, it's not in German, it's not in Italian, it's not in Latin, it's not in Greek, it's not in Hebrew, it's not in Aramaic, it's in Arabic. That's the point. And so if you go to page 104, this is actually what all of this really stems from. Professor Anatoly Fomenko's new chronology, or the timelines. Now, I haven't gone into these. I'm familiar. I think from what I know, there's many of these, and even David's mentioned there's many of these. I can't really go into all of them, but the point is being made is what you said earlier. The pattern is similar, right? This Suleiman alayhi salam, the great builder, a lot of signatures are very similar, so it makes sense. What we know, the satanic signature can't create anything divinely new, but what it can do is replicate or copy and try to twist, alter. So we know that there is this kind of signature anyhow. But if you look at page 104, this is what it is. He's finding similarities between, for example, the Holy Roman Empire and the Kingdom of Judah in the Bible. Okay, so I'm not going to focus on any of these because they are great topics on their own. But basically, he's showing that the Vatican threat. He talks about the Attila the Hun, the Dhul-Qarnayn, all of this having Germanic connections. Yeah, the Alpha and the Omega. Actually, let's have a little look at some of those. Let me go there somewhere. Before
this one was a really good one, the Alpha and Omega.
Yeah, that's a big one for me as well, I know. Yeah, so can't go into Attila the Hun and Dhul-Qarnayn right now, but it's very compelling. Very compelling, definitely. I don't know about you, what do you think?
Yeah, I think maybe part two.
Still thinking over it, yeah. But yeah. But basically the point is that these were heroes and they were against the Vatican, yeah? They were against the unholy side and they were great victors. Basically fighting in the cause of God, yeah? The one true creator. Germanic, Alpha, Omega. Okay, yeah, this bit I think. Germanic.
So yeah, so this Alpha and Omega came from is a part of the Germanic people, right?
Yeah.
So
I think
this
so.
is what
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. It's a famous common word for Germanic. Yeah, it is.
Well, what David is saying that the German people are the lost tribe of Israel. They are the core of Bani Israel, which really does make a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense. I'm going to be honest here. Rightly or wrongly, I still remember when I was following Anthony Patch and he mentioned about his German roots. And there is something to be said, you know, that it's almost like as if they've been labeled as well, the Germans, you know, because of what happened apparently with this history that we've been taught about Hitler and what the German people did. It's not too far-fetched to say that the good people once again have been labeled the bad people. You know, we don't know what the truth is of what really took place then. It might have been a small portion that they turned into the whole nation, you know, were responsible for something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The Alpha and the Omega. Yeah, so go ahead. So brother, you have some,
Well, Brother Shah, who is it saying here?
Yeah,
Brother Shah is saying, if the European were part of the kingdom of Israel, who is Gog and Magog?
That one, I don't know. Gog and Magog. That's what everyone wants to know about Yajuj Majuj. But again, it's one of those.
You can just tell by what Allah says. Allah says that the trademark,
the signature
is facade, right?
Facade,
yeah.
Right, yeah.
So who are the people who are spreading the facade? It's not just these specific Jews. It's not just that.
Yeah.
It's Western European businessmen and
the
Vatican.
Numbers make sense as well when you think of the numbers. You know how you know coming from all directions. You know, we don't know. At least I don't know. I'm open. I'm all ears to anyone that has theories on this. But yeah, I mean, just as we're going through what we're going through, for me, the Vatican sounds like Yajuj Majuj.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not just like what they've done in history, but like all of taxes. Where does all the money go? That's where it goes to. It goes to the Vatican at the end of it. So I mean,
who holds our birth certificates, right?
Exactly. Who holds up? And has anyone actually gone to Rome and looked at the Vatican, the actual physical building? Like, you have to have billions of dollars to make something like that. So people who have that much money, and anyways, to get that much money, basically you have to be involved in facade. Is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we're coming close to the end now. And thanks for everyone for attending, those who have attended. But yeah, just trying to wrap this up. Okay, so yeah, anything on the Alpha Omega before I move on from the Alpha to the Omega?
Well, I mean, basically, I think what I remember from David saying was Alpha basically the Al part, right, is representing Allah. So it's Allah, and I mean, it's the beginning and the end. It's the 1 and the 9.
Yep. The first number, the last number. Absolutely. It's a representation of Allah.
And then I saw somebody else's meme. They're saying that 1 plus 9 is 10, and then 1 plus 0 is 1. So it's always back to the 1, right? It's always back to Allah. So it's a representation of.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say it. Maybe it is a representation of Allah, but
well, the most interesting thing, but the most interesting thing is that the Alpha and the Omega. What is it? The photo above shows the Alpha and Omega symbols. This is well known by the Germanic peoples. That this, actually writes in Arabic Allah. Yeah, that's the thing. Not just the 1 and the 9, but the actual writing of Alpha and Omega. When you place it together, when you place the Alpha above the Omega, it basically is writing what we see in Arabic as Allah. Okay. Anyway. Moving on from that, so if you go to page 111, back to Jerusalem being in Europe, why? This is one of the biggest ones. So if you go to page 111, it's all about the Bosphorous. Which makes complete sense. By Sephar. Yeah, are you familiar with this?
By Sephar,
by meaning to, or the splitting, and Sephar. Sephar is someone who travels, Safar, and also he's showing that the Sephardic Jews. You know, he's showing the Bosphorus is basically, the Bible basically refers to Istanbul, the Bosphorus being Jerusalem. That's one of the big evidences that he gives.
Yeah, and like, I mean, if you think about it, like, you know, the whole story of Isa Al-Salam, I mean, that happened. That it's more probable that it happened in Istanbul.
Yep.
And so if we're saying that, then what is Hagia Sophia? Was that the masjid that they were at?
The Holy Temple. Right?
Yeah, the Holy Temple. Yeah. I mean, it's a big change in perspective.
It is.
And to think, you know, was that the headquarters of Sulaiman al-Salam? Like, I mean, there's so much.
That's what it looks like. Because if you look at the water paths, you know, underneath, even if you look at the waterworks.
And all these star forts, they all had water at the bottom of it too.
Right.
So,
and there is that passage in the Quran as well where Saba comes to Sulaiman, and she steps into something which looks like clear water or something, but it's actually something crystal, something glass. So there's a description being given of something amazing, you know, of looking see-through, looking like, oh, she's stepping in water, but she's not. So I can't remember exactly what it is. But anyway, none of this can be pictured in what we see today as in Israel or modern day Israel. Right, as we approach page 122. Oh yeah, not to mention the fact that many people believe that the second coming of Isa alayhi salam, I think, do they connect it to Istanbul as well? Yes, if you look at page 121, it's what I was saying. From Istanbul to Islambul, House of Islam, So that's one. That's just one more for you. You know, what is Jerusalem? Home of peace, Home of peace. That's what Jerusalem is. What is Istanbul? It's a house of peace, House of Islam. It's all the same. Dar-us-Salam. It's all the same. Brother Shah says that he feels that the second coming needs to be looked at properly. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I feel like I have to give credit to Sheikh Imran Hussain, and I haven't seen any reason to see otherwise yet. But I thought he did a very good job in 5 proofs within the Quran why Isa alayhi salam is coming back. And when I did speak to David, he says we don't know for sure. It's not that he denied it, and I prefer that position. That we're not rejecting it, nor are we saying is it absolutely crystal clear. I think that is the safer position, but it does look like I still believe Sheikh Imran did a good job in providing at least 5 evidences. People say that there's more in the Quran that he is returning, and I'm still inclined that way. I still am. I know that there's a lot of questioning about, from those three major actors in the end times, you know, Dajjal, the Mahdi, and Isa alayhi salam. But with at least Isa alayhi salam, I'm still inclined to believe that there is at least some sign within the Quran that he is returning. How about you, bro?
Yeah, I feel the same. You can't be 100%, but you can't be 0, so it's kind of 50-50. So
yeah.
But I mean, logically thinking, like the way that the Vatican and their gang, there needs to be someone that puts them in check.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
And who else would it be than the person that created this lie that he is the Son of God, right? Like that because it does say in Surah, it does say it does say in the Quran that is the biggest lie, and it's a great lie.
Yeah,
so it would only make sense.
Yeah, creating, but creating a partner with God is one of the greatest sins. But yes,
exactly.
Even more so than that, the whole Son of God is even greater than that. Yeah. So if Allah speaks about Bani Israel as being the favored ones, yeah, would you expect them to be living in a small place or in a large place? You know. And
of course, to be in a large place.
Yeah, large place. And for me, yeah, again, it's just one of the things that it makes sense that the Bani Israel were located by the Bosphorous in that place called Istanbul today, which was known as Istanbul. This won't go down with many in a good way, but the reality is what David's pointing out is that the Bible was created within the 16th and from the 16th century to the 18th century, somewhere around them. So the Bible was created very recently. Because they're describing what took place in the Middle Ages. So how would you be describing what took place in the Middle Ages if it wasn't written after the Middle Ages? This is a very big thing. Yeah, this is a very big thing. So why would people be? Why would crusades take place 1,000 years after the crucifixion of Jesus? In revenge for Jesus. Yeah, this is a very big one. Yeah, this sounds ridiculous. Who would wake up 1,000 years later and start to get revenge on something? This doesn't make sense at all. Yeah,
that one was nobody really actually even. I mean, I've never heard of anyone saying anything besides David. And then once you hear it, why did they wait 1,000 years?
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. The Crusades, it's questionable. It's a joke, basically, the story they're telling us, which again, unfortunately, brings into question this more romanticism that we've been taught about Saladin, Saladin, the Crusades, what took place apparently in Israel. Okay, page 138. Arabian Europe, Arabian Europe. That's the most important thing, in all of this, that Europe is actually Arabian in its origins, and that's what David is showing. I find it interesting. If you go to page 144, he makes me think as well, was Maryam alayhi salam the sister of Musa alayhi salam? Very interesting. If you start to put these things together and it fits what the Quran is saying, then it does make you question the timeline. How close were these timelines between even some of these prophets? We don't know. 148. The whole point of this was, as I said at the beginning, that fake history creates conflict and true history creates peace. This is what David is showing, and this is what he seems to be, in my opinion, spearheading. Whereas everyone else is looking at a lot of truth, but they're not doing it the way that David is doing in terms of actually creating peace in this sense. One more example of that is page 149. If you just look at, we've heard of Damascus, right? We know what Damascus is in Syria. How come we know the place in Damascus, the place as being Sham? We know it in Arabic as Sham. But how come we've been told that this place is called Damascus? Do you know this?
Well, I mean, Shams is an Arabic word, right? And Damascus is an English word, I guess.
There's a reason for it, because biblical scripture says that Damascus will become a pile of heap. Yeah. And again, I remember hearing when I was following Christians, they would speak about this, because obviously they're thinking that the Bible is prophesying what is actually occurring right now, whereas actually it's the other way around. People are manufacturing what seems to be prophecies in the Quran, I mean, prophecies in the Bible, yeah? They're actually manufacturing these events taking place because they've already written them, they've planned for these things to happen. So when it says in the Bible that Damascus will become a pile of heap, guess what? They can turn Damascus into a pile of heap, and the Christians will think, yeah, this was supposed to happen from a holy sense. You know, that these people of Syria are the bad lot, and that place doesn't need to be destroyed. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what fake history does. Yeah, it allows for terrible things to take place, and for a lot of people to accept it and embrace it as well. But yeah, the main Jerusalem, as David says, there is evidence that there has been many places called Jerusalem, or many evidences to suggest that there are different places around the world as Jerusalem. But that would make sense that they were all mini Jerusalems, and that the main Jerusalem was Sulaiman alayhi salam's headquarters, which is in Istanbul. Yeah, does that make sense?
That would definitely make sense.
Yeah, so you would stamp your authority around the world saying, I've dealt with this place, I've created good here, I've built things here, this is also my Jerusalem here, this is also my Jerusalem headquarters here. You know, basically what you would have around the world. This is the sign of a great kingdom, taking care of all the places around the world, creating mini Jerusalems. But the main Jerusalem, what David is saying is located in Istanbul. And so page 150, yeah, this is probably the biggest one for me, actually. I don't know if I've said that a few times, but yeah, this is probably the biggest one for me. If you look at the underground water reservoirs, yeah, can you see that in Istanbul?
Yeah.
Right. So if you look at the underground, the underground water reservoirs. Once again, if pilgrims came from all around the world, how did they sleep in what we see as a pile of heap and waste in modern day Israel and Palestine today? How did they get water, sleep? There was no infrastructure for this massive pilgrimage taking place. Whereas when you look here, you can see the signs that this place could cope and provide for everyone, which is still the case today. It seems to be that's what this is still the case today. This geographic location still seems to be the place that can provide for everyone. It seems like that. So you've got the underground water reservoirs. So these great, so if people have been following Tartaria, especially the latest upload that I put on YouTube, people will see signs of great buildings from a previous civilization that were unfinished. Are you familiar with this?
Yes.
It's great buildings, but some of them look unfinished. And this was something that I found, wow, this is quite surprising, because when Suleiman passed away, the buildings were left unfinished, and he points to the Quran. Now, check that out. Isn't that amazing? He points to the Quran that this is what happened, that they stopped building, right? These people that he had under his control, the jinn, great builders. What happened when Suleiman left? They stopped, right?
They stopped, yeah.
Yeah, so that would explain, for example, Notre Dame, which apparently, was also built by this great Suleiman. He was great at building things. So this was left unfinished. Page 167. Okay. Thomas Cook. You familiar with Thomas Cook?
Yeah.
Of course, everyone knows when it comes to tourism and traveling, right? Thomas Cook. So, just to finish off, this is all about money and power, as we said at the beginning, right? So there's a 10 billion, I think he's quoted here, $10 billion. Yeah, $10 billion. Where is it? Yep, there we go. Right. The British travel company Thomas Cook did business of around $10 billion in 2018. The company was founded by Thomas Cook in the 19th century. Thomas Cook took his first group of tourists to Egypt and Palestine in 1869. By 1900, his company had arranged for travel for thousands of people to see newly discovered historical sites that no one had seen before. Yeah. It is known that the names of many places in the Middle East were changed to match places in the Bible. This is what it is. It's all just a money-making scheme. Holy sites were newly invented in the Middle East in the 19th century for the purpose of making money. It was a scam. Not only Thomas Cook, but hundreds of other businessmen and politicians were involved. Many businessmen and politicians were involved. Many religious organizations took part in the business project. Everyone wanted to make money. Yeah, so what is the main takeaway? For me, the main takeaway is that as David is trying really hard, it seems, and he's doing quite well, I think, he's waking people up to the fact that true history creates peace and false history just creates further conflict. I think just as the conflict takes place, as you said earlier, in our own minds when we're dealing with the truth, yeah? So that's what's been happening when we've been looking at some other areas, in terms of the reality of our religion, of our what we've been taught is Islam. When we're looking at some of these things, we have to deal with the internal conflict within our own minds. Yeah, that's something we have to deal with ourselves individually. But this, what David is showing here, this is the greater conflict of the world. Yeah, and that conflict takes place because of us not being able to deal with falsehood, with reality, false things that are taught to us that are a lie.
It's really unveiling to see where Jerusalem most probably would have been, which was Istanbul, based upon the infrastructure of being able to hold 1 million people, of the Hagia Sophia being more of a central mosque than what is Dome of the Rock or Masjid al-Aqsa. Masjid al-Aqsa doesn't even come compare to Hagia Sophia. So why would basic logic and reason, why would Masjid al-Aqsa be a headquarters when Hagia Sophia is much more extravagant, and all the signs tick that like the water in the basement,
central location,
the water, so it makes much more sense if you really look hard into it. And it's all like the toilet water and all of that. If you look into that, it's just kind of like, what are people following? Why are the Arabs and the Jews fighting? And it's all fighting because of a lie, right? And everybody's now looking there when Isa alayhi salam, if he does return, he's gonna come not to where you think he is.
Exactly.
And so there's another manipulation right there, because people will see that he didn't come where the hadith said, so they must be fake. So they've planned this the best that they can, but again, the best plan is with Allah. So we'll see. But it is very interesting that Istanbul was most probably the central location with Isa alayhi salam as well.
And this Arabic civilization was global. The Arabic language was global, as evident in these coins, the clothing. This Holy Roman Empire was Islamic, was Arabic. Suleiman alayhi salam seemed to be what seems to be common amongst all of these different histories that we've been told. It's a lot to take, but anyway, we'll see what comes of this. But I think David's done some great work, and until next time, hopefully this proves to be something good, at least in changing, at least even if it's just a few people's minds. We don't know the kind of impact that could make, right? Even if it's for example, in one location, if a number of people realize that they're believing lies, and now they start to look at their neighbors in a more loving way, right? This is all nonsense. Who knows? There could be Jews here, there could be Muslims there, there could be Israelis here, Palestinians there, and then they start to wake up to these lies, and you're no longer my enemy. This is what it means. Yeah? When people say, oh, if enough people wake up, then all the woes of the world will disappear. I don't think that's going to happen. Well, who knows? But at the very least, we can make an effort to wake up people from the lies that are making them enemies of one another. Inshallah, anyway, God willing.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, that's it from us. So, yeah, nice one for bearing with me and for everyone on the group as well. Until next time.